Westworld Season 3 Episode 5 Genre finally reveals the strategy of Dolores. We also get a drug-infused altered reality through Caleb and an extensive look at how Serac has become the technological force that controls everyone's lives. The genre isn't a fantasy like the drug seems to Caleb, but rather a reality of war, and this episode gives us what we need going forward as we propel ourselves into real-world chaos. I'm going to be diving into all the plot points and characters, giving you my recap and explaining this episode. At the end of this video, I will also present my overall review. There will be spoilers for episode 5, so if you have not seen it, I'd advise to watch the episode then return for my analysis. Before I get into it, if you want to see any of my future episode reviews for Westworld Season 3, along with trailer breakdowns and theory videos coming this season, then subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoy this video, remember to give it a like rating. Without further ado, let's get into Westworld Season 3, Episode 5, entitled Genre. Season 3 has been unfolding like a mirror version of the first season, only now it's the humans who are locked in their own loops. And as we saw the awakening of hosts such as Dolores and Maeve, we are now seeing that with the humans as change starts to happen, the moment they achieve self-awareness. Companies like Insight have an interest in controlling the masses with the private information they've stolen from them, which is the natural endgame to what Delos intended with the Forge. Serac has essentially used Westworld as a template, something to build upon in the real world. Reality in Season 3 isn't another simulation though, it's a mirrored world to what we saw in the first few seasons. The more a corporation could anticipate and dictate consumer behaviour, the more it can manipulate mankind to serve whatever ambitions it might have. With Serac pulling the strings, it serves the multi-trillionaire class. Yet the situation isn't so straightforward, as the episode begins with a young Serac and his brother witnessing the destruction of Paris and everyone they knew and loved. Humankind was hurtling towards extinction, Serac explains, or whether God existed or not, he wasn't doing enough to keep Oblivion at bay. Another being would have to be created to replace God, and Serac and his brother make it their life's work to get this done. Serac may come across as a villain of the season, controlling humans against their own reality, but his starting point was the basic survival of the species. To survive, he had to implement the system. In the first scene with a world leader, they reuse a Fly reference, which obviously we had in Season 1 with Dolores. This conveys the broken nature of their species, one which is unrepairable. They can either lead themselves to extinction or corrupt the world against people's free will and ultimately end in the same point. What this episode shows us is that there is no happy ending for humanity. The episode proceeds elegantly along two main narrative paths. One tells the story of Serac and Liam Dempsey Sr. as they build the AI known as Rehoboam, and the other follows Dolores, Caleb and a kidnapped Dempsey Jr. as they take action to dismantle it. Serac is the key player across both subplots because he has a strong interest in keeping anyone else from accessing the deeper layers of Rehoboam. He may be fairly accused of enslaving his fellow brother with his creation, and more insanely of editing out the behaviours of those anomalies who threaten it. But his predictive model isn't optimistic about what will happen to the world if it weren't under strict supervision. And this is the flaw of the system itself, which ultimately Dolores has used to her advantage. Their cages are cycles which Dolores herself is aware of, and she has experienced this in her own way. We see Serac show Dempsey Sr. examples of how Rehoboam can predict stock changes within 15 minutes and eventually save his career and also his life. Serac's brother intends on killing Dempsey, but with his broken state, Serac tells Liam that he saved his life because of the system. The complications over using Rehoboam is that it can help make the world safer, but at the same time you are trapping people against their own free will. The sequence on Serac ends with him killing Dempsey, who questions and ultimately wants to shut down the unpolished system. Moving on to the second narrative of the episode, which shows one of the anomalies of Serac's Rehoboam. This anomaly is Caleb, which is why Dolores has brought him over to her side of the fight. The episode does heavily suggest questions about his own identity, but I think this is mainly tied into the themes of what is real that the show questions so well. At the beginning of this sequence, in a bid to escape his captors, Dempsey Jr. injects Caleb with the party drug genre, which we saw in last week's episode. There's a clear reference to the experimental gum from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, only with various movie genres instead of meals. Each stage prompts him to see the world through a new filter, like the black and white of a post-war noir or the glossy romance that he strangely feels for Dolores. This all takes place during a thrilling futuristic action chase as Dolores and Caleb blast their way through an ambush by Serac and his men. Dolores hands Caleb a controllable rocket launcher to take out one vehicle while her automatic motorcycle provides the explosion of the second. There's a great piece of symbolism to this spectacle, showing how humans get escorted where they want to go safely and efficiently, but the system can turn them from the passenger to the prisoner at any time. And I guess that's the big question over Dolores too. Like Serac, she's not a clear-cut hero or villain, she's a grey character. As Serac explains in the opening narration, there are flies in the ointment, and he hasn't found a big enough swatter to get rid of them yet. A facility that Serac builds to edit the behaviour of human anomalies, including his own brother, looks awfully similar to the glass enclosures in the Mesa, where technicians do their tinkering with the hosts. Members at Delos were always confident that they could restore and reprogram the hosts to bring them back into compliance. But Dolores completely breaks the shackles of this idea. While Dolores, Caleb, his rejoined criminal friends and Dempsey Jr. ride a train, Connell shows Bernard what Dolores is planning. The reveal is that Dolores sends everyone on the planet their data, showing them their loops and their eventual deaths. As I predicted before the season started, we are now seeing the world in chaos. Everyone knows that they are in a loop, and Dolores has broken the system from the inside. She didn't need to blow up Rehoboam to stop it. All she needed to do was hack the system using Dempsey and send everyone's data to their technological devices. As the world goes into chaos, Dempsey Jr. eventually becomes too much of a problem and gets shot by one of Caleb's criminal friends on a nearby shore. Caleb at this point sees memories that define him and ultimately lead to him questioning what he's doing. He visualises his war friend dying, along with moments of himself nearly committing suicide at the bridge which Dolores was situated on a few episodes ago. We get a sense that Caleb doesn't want to bury members of his own kind, as he is more sympathetic at heart. But when he sets off on a plane with Dolores at the end of the episode, it becomes clear that this is the path he has chosen, a revolution by force. Dolores, in this final moment, also encounters a hologram of Serac through the eyepiece which we've seen her use before. She tells him that she knows he has a fractured system, and that now nothing will stop what's coming. I do think that Serac has a few options up his sleeve, even if they will take him a long time to put in place. Maeve is obviously one of them, but the more extended option, which we seem to be getting in the trailer for episode 6 and beyond, is William, or the Man in Black. Building William as a host similar to James Delos is possible. He has 30 years of recorded fractured states in Westworld, which ultimately led to him losing everything. And this is why I think we still have William in the show. He wouldn't be there if he was simply going to be a man who is forever held in an institution. I think we're seeing the next step in evolution when a man meets a host body in the middle. Jonathan Nolan did hint this in a featurette a few episodes ago. We'll have to see, but I will be breaking that trailer down in a separate video coming this week. A last point to mention was the choice of music in episode 5, which seems to be getting even more powerful as the season goes on. We got covers of the Shining theme, Iggy Pop and David Bowie, all hinting at a dystopian sense of doom which cannot be escaped. In particular, the Bowie song did a great job of showing parallels to Maeve and Akecheta's walk of self-discovery in the previous seasons. But this time it was all of the humans breaking down once they saw their data. Overall, this episode highlighted that there is no easy path from here on out. It's all leading to a disaster which would have happened without Rehoboam's system anyway. Humans are ultimately born to die, and the only way I see this developing is through the narrative of the Man in Black, who very much represents the fractured state of humanity. The final episode of this season is entitled Crisis Theory, and I do think that this links in with the idea. I can't wait to see what they do, and I will be bringing plenty of coverage as we enter the end of Season 3. I'm giving Westworld Season 3 Episode 5 Genre a rating of 4.5 stars. Where this could have been a filler episode, the showrunners and director have to be applauded because we got some very important information going forward into the final acts of the season. We didn't just get the differences in motivation between Dolores and Serac, but we also got a sense of the tragedy for the people in the middle, who will suffer in the eventuality of a new war. And by this I mean everyone. When Dolores transfers everyone's data, you see reactions to their futures play out in front of them. One of the reactions I enjoyed was Caleb's. He went from experiencing a fantasy of drug-fueled emotions into facing the harsh truth about reality and the reality of an upcoming war. This is all down to their kind, but the sad part is that it's a part of their nature and has always been throughout history. Although they appear to change based on seeing their reality, as Ford clearly alluded to in Season 1, they ultimately do not change. There's only so long the species can go on until a new, more adaptable one comes along to replace them. And this is through Dolores. The question is, do you follow someone who wants to start a revolution by force, or follow a tech businessman who has controlled the world and everyone within it for decades? Both come with pros and cons, and this episode doesn't gloss over one or the other. As I said in my trailer breakdown for this episode earlier in the week, we are seeing grey characters, those who aren't fully good or bad, but rather complicated. Dolores and Caleb's final conversation before they get on the plane highlights this, and I think we can only strap ourselves in for the chaos and the aftermath that follows. We'll have to see how the last 3 episodes of this season end, but so far, Genre continues a run of fantastic installments in Westworld Season 3, broadening the scale and the world that the show continues to expand upon. Let me know down below what you thought of Episode 5 and tell me if you picked out anything that I didn't or any predictions you have going forward. I'm very interested to hear your reactions. For more reviews and recaps of all the upcoming episodes of Westworld Season 3, along with topical videos surrounding this season, subscribe to the channel and turn on your notifications. Also, if you enjoyed this video, give it a like rating. Just to let you know, my Man in Black theory video was delayed last week, but it will be arriving in the next few days, so look out for that. But anyway, let me know what you thought of the latest episode down below in the comment section. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I've been Cortex, and as always, make some noise.